Hello and welcome to the second edition of the Centre Court YouTube channel. My name is Joshua Worrell, and in this episode I will be talking about one of the key issues within the modern game, which is the introduction of bonus points for quarters won in the Australian League. Now what I'm going to discuss is whether I believe that works in Australia itself, whether I believe it's good for the game, and also if I believe it would be a success if introduced in the English game. Now the reason I'm touching upon this is because many pundits, players, journalists, fans alike in Australia have got differing views on this. Some say it adds competition to the league, where if a team's losing in the third quarter, they can rally, win that last quarter and get a bonus point in the bag for their efforts. Other people say that teams could miss out on playoff positions by the virtue of not having enough bonus points for quarters won, which again I do agree with. I agree with both sides of the argument, but where I stand on it is, why the need for change now in a league that is the revolutionary league in the world? It was surviving on its own without the need for this. I'd call it a pressure point for the players. Teams have got used to the league as it was, the old structure, and to throw a curveball like this in, yes, it'll test the resilience and perhaps the training methods of some of the coaches who'll have to perform for 60 minutes as a team. But also, it does kind of diminish the fact that if you win the game, you get the full quota of points, if that makes sense, because 8 points is for the win in 4 quarters, we understand this, but a team could be playing absolutely terribly, and then the team that's winning in the third quarter could take their foot off the pedal and rest a few players knowing they've already won the game, and then that opposition team could get a bonus point off the back of that. I just don't see the need for it to be introduced at this moment in time. People do have the views on it. I spoke to Sophie Garbin, who plays in the Australian League, just very briefly on her Instagram live feed. I did touch upon it to her to get a bit of research in the bag. And what she said was very similarly to what the pundits would say, that it does provide that competition for the league. But having said that, it can kind of dilute the product to a certain extent. Looking at 8 points for a win is a pretty big amount of points to be on the table. It does kind of interfere with the league tables in terms of how you look at those and how you can plan for those in the fixtures. Who's going to be top, who might win here, who's got the advantage in this game. Those kind of questions will surface. As a whole issue though, I don't think it massively affects netball as a sport. If it was introduced in this country, it would take a lot of getting used to, in my opinion. It could make our league a bit more exciting, given that you've got that top 5 pulling away from the rest of the league. This is including Mavericks and that, so you've got Lightning, Wasps, Thunder, Bath and Mavericks really. They're the 5 teams who can cause damage in our league. But I think with the addition of this bonus point system, you could see maybe the likes of Surrey Storm and Seven Stars taking quarters off these teams, getting a few points here and there in the bag, and thus closing that gap. For me though, it is a wider issue that needs discussing, not only amongst the Australian lot, but also in New Zealand, England and the other important leagues as well. I do believe, similarly to Rugby League, we do need to have the same kind of systems going on, the same structures, the same rules, because that all leads to your international game. Everyone's got to be on the same page with that, in my view anyway, to make the Commonwealth Games, the World Cup, tournaments like that exciting to watch and closely fought and fair as well, I would say, because if teams are used to playing every single quarter at 100% in Australia, but over here coaches can rest players in that third knowing that it won't impact on the amount of points to get. I just think we need to open that can of worms and discuss it even further. Now, I've kept this podcast very short this evening. I thought the last one went on a bit too long, so 5 minutes really, just to set that issue in stone of the bonus point. If you've got any questions, any feedback, anyone who's involved in netball who would like to give their opinion, please do so. I will be doing a lot more research. I'll be watching a few games on the app, on the Netball Live app, just to see if I believe it works. I've got a few that I need to catch up on, but from what I've seen, it does make it quite entertaining. And also the addition of the timeouts is something I'll be discussing as well, because over in Australia they do get to have tactical timeouts I think it applies here to an extent, but it's more injury based. But I will be keeping back in touch, and thank you very much for listening. Cheerio.